What's good, YouTube? It's your boy JusticeXFalls. We back at it again with another video. Today we're looking at A Plague Tale Requiem. This is the sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence. If you don't know, it's a I would say action adventure games, but it's has some unconventional elements. It's not all about running and gunning and things like that. You actually have to use some strategies and the powers of one of the characters to get through the game. It has a lot of interesting elements in it. I'm playing through the first one now, Innocence. This is going to be the sequel here. IGN got a hands-on preview, and we're going to check it out. So without further ado, let's get to the video. All right, Plague Tale Requiem, hands on, let's get it.
First in the harrowing world, first established in...
Oh, we got to run that back. There we go. Oh, he getting violated. Oh.
What? Was that real?
While playing 2 full chapters of A Plague Tale Requiem, I felt fully immersed in the harrowing world first established in developer Asobo Studios' original game, A Plague Tale Innocence. The emotive storytelling, engaging mix of puzzle and stealth gameplay, and yes, truckloads of rats still remain. But what impressed me most were the steps forward that the sequel appears to be taking in all of the above areas. With much more involved combat systems and a smarter approach to stealth, there looks set to be a lot of fun to be had, amongst all the blood, rats, and tears.
I don't know what's
this definitely looks better than the first one.
I feel my mind going.
Plague Tale hands-on preview.
Requiem picks up 6 months after the events of Innocence, with siblings Amicia and Hugo looking to put the horrors of their first adventure in 14th century France behind them. If the original Plague Tale was centered on the loss of innocence for the Darun children, then the sequel is about them wrestling with the guilt that comes with their actions. The demise of each enemy soldier, and there were quite a few in the short section I played, that comes between Amicia and her objective weighs heavily on her mind. This isn't too dissimilar from her reaction to killing in the first game, but this time around, there are just more dimensions to Amicia with a greater range of emotions expressed, namely anger. Halfway through my time with Requiem, rage overcame Amicia, showing her in a completely different light than we'd seen before. It was a display of pure violence.
What I don't understand is how y'all supposed to be knights and all of this stuff, and you got this little girl smoking y'all with a slingshot. A slingshot, rats, and a crossbow. That's crazy to me.
Violence unseen before in A Plague Tale, but what made it stick in the memory so strongly was the complete lack of remorse on Amicia's part, who snarled as each rock snapped through the air.
Right, she's defeating armored soldiers with a
this
slingshot.
Newfound acceptance for what she believes is a necessary course of action is reflected in the new tools at her disposal. A hefty crossbow can now be used to take down enemies, including armoured soldiers that your sling's projectiles would merely bounce off of. It takes a couple of seconds to wind up. This is 700-year-old weaponry being operated by a teenager after all, but packs a hell of a punch when unleashed. The crossbow bolts can be combined with materials to cause even greater effect, as can any type of ammunition such as rocks and throwable pots. Some of these alchemical mixtures will be familiar to those who played Innocence. Ignifer and Extinguish, which light and put out flames respectively, as well as some new ones. Launching tar onto a burning flame increases the radius of that light source temporarily, providing a potential solution
about to
one
walk
of the
right
game's
into it.
many puzzles.
What a
it
dummy.
Also has its uses in combat. Lure enemies into a pool of it before setting them ablaze with a neatly thrown
look at that.
There's over 20 different combinations of material and ammunition to play around with in Requiem, and it's made all the easier to manage them with an improved crafting and weapon wheel. Switching weapons is smooth, and the fact that you now have unlimited rocks to hurl at all times is quite frankly a godsend. It's not just Amicia that has new toys to play with though. Her little brother Hugo is now able to flex his special relationship with France's ongoing rat infestation.
They're coming! I can't. You have to handle it yourself. I'm sure. Do it. Quick.
Do it now.
Borrowing from other stealth action games like Hitman or the Batman Arkham series, an Echo ability allows you to pinpoint enemies through walls at quite long distances. Alongside this, the Imperium ability that allows Hugo to control the rats has been revamped. No longer do you target where you'd like the rats to swarm from a third-person perspective, but instead you take your position inside the pack and hunt down your prey by directly controlling your tidal wave of rodents.
That's a game changer.
Much more satisfying way to unleash a horde on your enemies, with the results being quite vicious as rats overwhelm and consume foes so quickly that the echoes of their screams outlive them.
That's scary.
The
That's scary though.
of Innocence allowed for 5,000 rats to be seen on screen at any time. With Requiem, those shackles are off, with the tech impressively allowing for more than 300,000 to surround you at any moment. At its core, the stealth combat and environmental puzzle gameplay loop of A Plague Tale Requiem is largely similar to its predecessor, but there are improvements across the board.
We know if you live in a major city, you know them rats is not as scared of fire as they show in this game, but I don't know, I just find that funny.
Requiem allows for a lot more experimentation in its combat situations than Innocence ever did, and its new, much larger arenas only encourage this. Stealth games are at their best when they make the player feel smart and in command of an encounter. The small, often corridor-shaped linear sections of Innocence never really offered this, but some of Requiem's combat locations are cavernous by comparison. There now feels like there are numerous interesting options in each area, rather than only one way to deal with a group of enemies. The
I like that. I like options.
Last of Us was clear to see,
especially in the stealth game.
These larger combat areas and the way you slink around them reminds me heavily of 2020's Part 2. Some of the annoying quirks that can take you out of a stealth game have been smoothed out in Requiem as well. Mercifully, one-hit deaths are no longer inflicted on Amicia outside of specific scenarios, allowing for you to endure a little damage before taking cover and healing. Both passive and lethal routes are offered, and
I think that's another big part of the game. The fact that you're not this invincible superhero. You are a teenage girl with a little boy, and like, although you have weapons at your disposal, you have to use them very wisely, or you'll find yourself on the losing end more often than not. I like that element that adds like intensity and fear and immersion to the gameplay. I like that.
You're encouraged to pick a style too. The new skills upgrade system reacts to the way you play and rewards you for your relevant actions through an invisible XP system. Take a more deadly approach and you'll unlock new combat skills, but lean more into being a silent ghost and you'll be granted new abilities that help you sneak around more efficiently. It's a clever system that makes you think twice about how to approach each scenario, while subconsciously impacting the mindset that your specific Amicia takes through the story.
These look like teeth. It's a two-teeth island.
Outside of combat, the thing that struck me the most was how much more colour and life there is in the world, especially when compared to the largely grey and brown Innocence. The original was already graphically impressive, but Requiem looks downright gorgeous at times.
Yeah, this is a beautiful looking game.
The sequel is set in an area of France where you get to see glimpses of civilization before the plague has had its full impact. One of the locations I saw allowed me to wander the bustling streets full of all the welcome, and some unwelcome, sounds and sights of a butcher's district.
If there's one thing I hate more than anything, it's wet socks. I know that was random as hell, but I hate wet socks.
While more genuinely pleasant surroundings included rolling fields and a jovial campsite. While I can only presume that this ultimately won't be a happy-go-lucky story of two siblings taking in all the beauty the south of France has to offer, it's very welcome to not constantly feel like you're in the gutter this time around. It doesn't seem all doom and gloom for the Daroons then, with the variety I saw in environments echoing the improved scope of gameplay options. While I can't shake the feeling that it all seems very familiar and not necessarily the giant leap forward that some may have been expecting, Requiem does at the very least appear to be the refining of an already successful formula. Whether it all comes together to take A Plague Tale to the next level is still to be fully seen, but from the roughly 90 minutes I played, I'm left very hopeful that we're all set for a fun, yet undoubtedly emotionally harrowing time.
Indeed.
For more from A Plague Tale, why not check out our review of Innocence, or watch Requiem's latest trailer.
Alright, that's it, y'all. Well, what can I say? This game is really good, and it's good like the first. Like, I'm already playing the first one, so you know I'm already seeing how that's going, and this just looks like, and it's a step up from there, graphically, gameplay wise, story wise, everything. These games take a lot of elements from other popular successful games and puts them in a way that they're not gimmicky. Like this, be attacking with the rats and the sonar echo ability that you can see from like Batman, like or Spider-Man or one of those kind of games. I like that ability. I like the crossbow, and I like how powerful they've made the crossbow. You know, most of what I've seen here, the crossbow did, you know, one shot, one kill type shit. So that I like that. I liked how they tell the story as well. I like the character models, the environments. They look beautiful. Like they look way more colorful than the first one, even though the first one was graphically impressive too. But they've upped the color palette because now you have a next gen, you know, system to use, you know, to add more polygon count. So you said there were like 5,000 rats could be on screen at once in the first game, and now it's 300,000. So that just goes to tell you the leap up in generations, you know, with the technology that we have available to us. I think we can go further though, but that's another conversation. And I just like the fact that you're not this invincible, you know, character with all of these ways to deal with the enemies. Like you do have a lot of ways to deal with the enemies, but you have to be smart about how you deal with the enemies, and you have to time your attacks. So there is an element of strategy to it, and I think that that's dope as well. So I'm definitely going to be checking this out after I finish the first one. I usually don't even touch a second game until I finish the first one. So but yeah, I think that this game is going to be one of those game of the year candidates. I know I say that a lot with a lot of games, and sometimes I miss, sometimes I hit, sometimes I miss, but this one is definitely going to be in that game of the year type category. So, but you guys already know the vibes. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is your boy JusticeXFalls, and we out. One.